This is to go over the extra probability review for in class, since I'm not here. The first one, first two, you can just plug right into your calculator, and if you plug those into your calculator, you should get 60 for the first one and 792 for the second one. Now remember, permutation, the P order matters, combination order does not matter. Second one, we're not choosing from a big group. We have super salad, we have salmon, chicken, or steak, we have beans or broccoli, pasta or fruit. So we have multiple things that we're talking about, so we multiply them all together and we get 24. For the third one, how many ways can you pick 2 friends out of 10 to go to Valley Fair? Does order matter here? No, it doesn't, so it's going to be a combination, and you're choosing 2. Remember, the first number should always be your larger of the 2 numbers. So you get 45 different ways. Fourth one, how many ways can you line up 7 different Avenger toys? So different is key there. Line them up 7 toys, and you're using all 7 of them. Or you could also do 7 factorial. Either way you do it, you should get 5,040 ways that you could line those up. Question number 5, you pick a diamond from a deck of cards 12 times out of 50. What's the experimental probability of choosing a diamond? 12 times out of 50. So you use what you actually did to figure out your percent. So in this case, it's 24%, or 6 out of 25. Question number 6, first you want to know how much do you have of your total flowers in a garden, and you have a total of 20. That's going to help us. What's the probability of picking purple? Well, there's 3 purple out of 20, or that's equal to 15%. Of not blue, we'll count all the numbers that are not blue, or else I could do 20 minus 5. I get 15 out of 20, or 3/4, or that's 75%. C, pink or white. So to add up the pink, add up the white, now I'd get 12 total out of 20, which is equal to 3/5, or 60%. Question number 7, just to make my life easier, I like to, again, figure out what my total areas are first. The big one would be 30,000, because I'm going to multiply 150 times 200. The small parking lot would be 5,000, because I'm multiplying 100 times 50. The pool, remember, is your radius squared, so this would be 25 squared pi, which this one is going to be equal to about 1,963. And last but not least, we have the park, which is 1/2 base times height, so that would be 300. So now when I do my probabilities, landing in the parking lot, my parking lot is 5,000 over my total, which is 30,000, which would be equal to 17%. Landing in the pool would be, my intended outcome is my pool, 1963 out of my total, which is 30,000, be equal to 7%. And lastly, landing in the park would be the 300, because that's my intended outcome out of my total, 30,000, which is equal to 1%. Question number 8, again, first I'm going to figure out my total M&Ms. Gotta make some M&Ms. So I'm picking out one and then another. For each one of these problems, you're picking out one and then another. Probability of picking blue for the first one would be 9, because you have a total of 9 out of 30 M&Ms. Since you already have a blue out, there's still a total of 5 yellow in there, but now there's only 29 M&Ms in there. So if you multiply those two together, you get 5%. Question B, a brown, which there's 10 total brown, and there's 30 in there. You already have one out, but there's still 6 green in there out of 29, because you took one out. That would be 7%. Not brown. So you pick out an M&M, and you get not brown. So there's 20 of them. Since there's 10 that are brown, there's 20 that are not brown. Times, because you still are going to pick out another M&M. You already took out one of the M&Ms that are not brown, so there's 19 left in there. And now there's a total of 29 M&Ms left out there, because you already took one out that's not brown. So this would be 44%. chance of not prob. And 2 yellows. 5 out of 30 times you already took out a yellow, so there's 4 left in there, and you already took out an M9, so there's 29 left in there. If you multiply it with the other, 2% chance. Question number 9, last one. So again, I like to first find out my total. 68 here, we have 14 here. I'm gonna put my box, we have 32 here, we have 30 and 20. So first let's talk about what this chart is actually representing. It's giving me my first, second, and third hours, and it says 90% of videos done. So if you look at first hour 25, this 25 right here, that would mean that in first hour, 25 people have 90% of their videos done. That means they have 90% in the work ethic category. So that's what that represents. So the first one, given that it's first hour, so given it's this right here, so my total was going to be out of 32. That's what I'm dealing with now. What's the probability? Yes. So yes would be 25 out of 32, which is equal to 78%. Second one, probability that it's yes. Probably if I already know that they answered. So my total here now is 68. So I'm just dealing with those 3 numbers. What's the probability? It's second hour. So 28, that's my intended outcome, knowing that it's a yes. So that'd be 41%. And my last one, given that it's third hour, so now given that I know it's coming from one of those 2 numbers, or orange, or it might be easier to see. So given that it's out of 20 people, third hour, no. 5 people or do not have it done, so that'd be equal to 25%. So I'm also going to go over the bell work that was due today, or that was given today, a couple of things. I'm not going to write down the whole problem, but you can kind of look this over with my work. If you don't have it, if you already have it done, that's fine. The first problem, 1A. So there's 2 ways that you can do these. You could just count up the books that are both paperback or thriller, or else you could find the probability that it's paperback plus the probability that it's thriller, and then subtract the probability it is both paperback and thriller, and you would get 13 out of 15, or 87%. That's a 7. That's A. B would be add up the drama or hardcover books. So it would be 5 out of 15 would be drama, 6 out of 15 would be hardcover. Subtract the drama and hardcover. So that would be equal to 9 out of 15, or 3/5, which is 60%. The second work question on the bell work, it's kind of like the given that probability already. So for the next one, for the first 2 questions, it's out of the total. There's no given that statement. There's no line. What do I mean by the line? I'm talking about this right here. There is no line. So there's no given that. So we're dealing with our total. So the first one, what's the probability that's they have a savings account? So this is how many people have a savings account. So it'd be 384 over my total, which is 571. So that would be equal to 6, or it's 577. I'm sorry, I did not write that nicely. So that would be 67%. Next one, juniors without savings. So here's my juniors. Here are the ones that do not have a savings. Again, there's no given that statement, so it's going to be 92 out of the 577, which would be 16%. Next one, now I have my given that statement. So again, the given that statement should go on the bottom. So given that they have a savings account. So here are all my people with my savings account. Those are the people who would be my total. I'm dealing with that first. What's the probability that there's the junior? Well, juniors with a savings account would be 153. So that would be equal to 40%. And last but not least, given that it is a senior. So if I look, here are all my seniors. So first I'm dealing with the 332 on bottom. Given that they're a senior, what's the probability they do not have a savings account? So that'd be my 101 on top, which is equal to 30%. And my last geometry question, which is a doozy. I'm asking for what is the measure of angle CBA. So this is what I really want to know. Well, because these are parallel lines, I know that this angle is going to be congruent to this angle. However, so I have to know what that 4x is equal to. However, I also know that these two angles add together to get 180 because they're same side angular angles. So I could say, if it writes, I can say that x squared minus x plus 4x equals 180. When you are solving for something and you have an x squared and an x, you have to use the quadratic formula or factor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these like terms. I'm also going to subtract 180 from both sides of my equation. So I have x squared, negative x plus 4x to give me a positive 3x. And subtract 180 equals 0. Now, since it's equal to 0, I can use my quadratic formula. So when I'm using my quadratic formula on this, two numbers that multiply to get 180, that would add together to get 3. I'm factoring. Or you can use your quadratic formula. Opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that's something on the ACT and the MCA, they should give you that formula. I think that factoring is easier just because of the fact I already have my answer. I factored. Or if you use your quadratic formula, you set both of these equal to 0. This would be x is equal to negative 15. This would be x is equal to 12. Well, when I look at this, this is what I want to know. I want to know what this angle is equal to. That means 4x will give me my answer. I have two different possibilities here. So let's say if I plugged in both of them, shall we? So if I said x is equal to negative 15, I would get 4 times negative 15, and that would give me a negative 60. Well, when I'm talking about angles, this one would not work. You're not going to have a negative 60 degrees. So I'm going to do the 4 times 12, which would be equal to 48 degrees. Now this would be my answer, and the reason why that's my answer is because this is equal to this because of the parallel lines. So that's all I have for you today. Have a great, grand, wonderful, spectacular day.